You won't believe it. But exactly 1 year ago, I was stuck. I was $20,000 in debt, exhausted from a job I hated, and barely making ends meet. I had no savings, no big plan, nothing. All I had was $500 left on a credit card. $500. And here's the crazy part. I took that $500, and today, I'm running an online business that earns over 6 figures. No crazy miracle, no handouts, just grit, smart moves, and one big leap of faith. And I'm going to show you how you can do it too, even if you feel like your back's against the wall. This is my story. But first, let me tell you about the moment I hit rock bottom. January 2024, that's where it started. The new year should have brought hope, right? But instead, it felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. I was 28, working a soul-crushing job as a customer service rep for a company that couldn't care less about me. My shifts were long, my patience was short, and every payday, my bank balance barely moved. Worse yet, I was buried under credit card debt, over $20,000 of it. My nights were spent lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I would ever get out of this hole. I remember one particular evening, the rain pounding on the windows, matching the pounding in my head. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my laptop. I'd been reading articles on side hustles, ways to make money online, but it all felt like nonsense. I didn't have the time, the skills, or the money to invest in some fancy new business venture. But then, I stumbled on a story. A girl just like me, starting with next to nothing, had managed to launch her own online business. Something in that moment clicked. Maybe it was the desperation, maybe it was my stubbornness, but I thought, what if I just tried? What if I took one small step? I didn't have anything to lose, except that last $500 sitting on my credit card. So I grabbed my phone, opened my notes app, and wrote, January 15th, 2024. Started my online business with $500. I had no idea what that business would be, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to be in this place, feeling like this a year from now. The next day, I sat at my tiny kitchen table, surrounded by papers, scribbling down ideas. Any idea, really. I Googled everything from dropshipping to affiliate marketing, but nothing felt right. Then, I stumbled across the concept of digital products, courses, templates, ebooks, things I could create once and sell repeatedly with minimal overhead. That was it. I had skills. I knew how to write. I understood social media, and I was pretty good with tech. I thought, what if I created an online course? People are making money teaching others skills they already have. Why can't I? But there was a problem. I didn't feel like an expert in anything. Imposter syndrome hit me like a truck. But then I remembered something a mentor once said to me. You only need to know 10% more than the person you're teaching to provide value. That hit home. I realized I didn't need to be the best in the world. I just needed to be better than someone who was one step behind me. So I spent $200 of that $500 on a basic course platform subscription. I'd teach social media marketing for beginners. I was decent at it. And there were tons of small business owners who didn't even know where to start. That's where I'd come in. The next $100 went into a simple website, a basic landing page where I could host the course. No fancy bells or whistles, just clean and functional. With $200 left, I had to be smart. I spent $50 on designing the course materials. Canva was a lifesaver. And with the last $150, I invested in ads, targeting small business owners on Facebook and Instagram. I felt like I was gambling my life savings. My hands shook as I hit publish on that first ad campaign. It was nerve-wracking. What if no one signed up? What if it flopped? The first week was brutal. I checked my email obsessively, waiting for a notification. Someone enrolled in your course. But nothing. I refreshed my bank balance. Still just $500 in credit card debt, and a whole lot of doubt creeping in. I wanted to quit, to pull my ads and say I tried, but it didn't work. But then day 10 happened. I woke up to an email. My first sale, $97. I couldn't believe it. I ran into the kitchen screaming like a kid on Christmas morning. My cat looked at me like I was insane, but I didn't care. Someone, somewhere, thought my course was worth buying. That sale gave me the push I needed to keep going. Over the next 2 weeks, I made a few more sales. Nothing crazy, but enough to feel like I wasn't completely out of my mind. Each time I got an order, it felt like validation. Like maybe, just maybe, I could pull this off. But then reality hit me again. I wasn't making enough to cover even my ads, let alone replace my job. I had a decision to make. Either go all in or go home. And I knew there was no way I was going back to the life I had before. I realized I was playing small. I couldn't just rely on ads. I needed to build an audience, build trust. So I started pouring my time into creating free content. I posted daily on Instagram, giving away tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes looks at my own journey. I made YouTube videos walking through simple social media strategies for small business owners, sharing what I'd learned along the way. I started getting messages, people asking me questions, thanking me for the free advice. My followers grew slowly but steadily. And then the sales started trickling in more consistently. But the real game changer came when I launched a webinar. I spent weeks prepping for it, creating a step-by-step presentation, walking people through how to grow their social media presence from scratch. The webinar was free, but at the end, I pitched my course. I was terrified. Public speaking wasn't my thing, and the thought of pitching felt so sleazy. But I knew I had to step out of my comfort zone if I wanted to see real growth. The night of the webinar, I had 50 people sign up. By the end of the hour, 10 of them bought my course. I made almost $1,000 in one night. I couldn't believe it. After that webinar, I knew I had something. I kept tweaking, learning, and experimenting. I took a chunk of the money I made and invested it back into better tools, like an email marketing platform and more advanced design software. But the biggest shift came when I realized I didn't have to do it all myself. I outsourced some tasks, like graphic design and video editing on Fiverr, freeing me up to focus on creating content and refining my course. My email list grew, my social media presence expanded, and soon, I wasn't just making $1,000 a month. I was making $10,000. It felt surreal. In less than a year, I had gone from scraping by, terrified of my next bill, to making more than I ever had in my full-time job. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. With success came a new set of problems. The more money I made, the more pressure I felt to keep growing, to outdo myself. I got obsessed with metrics. How many sales I could make in a week, how many followers I could gain in a day. And then there was burnout. I'd built my business on the idea that I could live life on my own terms. But suddenly, I was working around the clock. I was the boss, but I didn't feel in control anymore. I felt like I was back in that old cycle, just a different kind of grind. I had to step back and remind myself why I started this journey in the first place. I wanted freedom. Freedom from the 9-to-5 grind, freedom to work from anywhere, freedom to spend my time on things I actually cared about. So I restructured my business. I hired a virtual assistant to handle my inbox and social media messages. And I started batching my content so I could take full weekends off. I learned to say no to projects that didn't align with my vision, even if they promised more money. Fast forward to today. It's been just over a year since I started this business with that $500 gamble. I'm not a millionaire yet, but I've built something that gives me freedom, purpose, and yes, financial stability. My business now generates over $15,000 a month, and I'm expanding into new areas like coaching and consulting for other aspiring entrepreneurs. But the most important thing, I'm in control of my life. I get to choose how I spend my time, where I work, and what projects I take on. I wake up excited about my day, and I don't dread checking my bank account anymore. And to think, it all started with that tiny decision, a leap of faith, $500 and the belief that I could create something better. Here's the thing, if I can do it, so can you. I had no special skills, no big connections, no investors, just a desire to change my life. If you're feeling stuck, frustrated, or scared to take that first step, let this be your sign. You don't need a ton of money or experience. You just need the willingness to try. So, what's stopping you? Take that leap. Bet on yourself, and maybe a year from now, you'll be telling your own story of how you turned $500 into a six-figure business. You've got this.